What's up, Pirates? Wraith and Jim here with AwakenedTCG, and we have the fourth installment of this series. Today, we're going to be looking at the purple cards, seeing which ones are good, which ones are not, and overall rating, what purple cards are being printed and see if we're going to run them.
And as the purple enthusiast, I will definitely be running this purple Luffy in come OP05. So let's go over these cards. This is going to be a typical 5 cost, 5 life leader. 5,000 power, 5 life leader. And you can activate main once per turn. Add the top card of your life to your hand. And then after you do that, if you have 0 or 3 or more Dawn cards on your field, you can add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as active. So it's basically grab a card from your life to your hand and then get an active Dawn, which basically translates to draw a card, get an active Dawn, which is very strong.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you just start ramping, right? You can ramp like Kaido, but for free without having to have an event or a stage, I should say.
Yeah, it's going to be at the cost of your life, but you're going to have so much hand advantage. I've actually tested this deck that taking life early, you actually want to do that. It's actually really strong. You just rush to 10.
Yeah, I mean, for most decks, you want to take the first 2 life regardless anyway, and so that just speeds it up for you and gets you into spots where other decks can't get to so early on into the game.
Exactly. It's going to give you way more options in hand, and you're going to be able to play a lot of different lines depending on the game state.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to have our first 2K counter here. It's going to be Usopp going under his alias Usohachi and the Wano arc. He's going to be a 3 cost, 4,000 power with 2K counter, and the Straw Hat Crew archetype, which makes him searchable. And it's going to be Dawn times 1, bring him to 5k when attacking. If you have 8 or more Dawn cards in your field, put up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less rested. This card, I mean, it's a searchable 2k already, so it honestly doesn't matter what the ability is, but I can honestly see myself playing this out. Like, this is not a bad effect into the late
Yeah,
game.
this is definitely a card you want to play on the turn before you go for lethal, just in case they ever pop some blockers. I think this is a really good card.
Yeah, a 2k with an actual use that's searchable will always be good. Next up here, we've got Nami, or Onami in Wano. And she's going to be a 1/1 with 1k counter blocker only if you have 10 or more Dawn on your field. Which, in purple, I hate when they print stuff like this. Like King, purple's whole thing is you're never staying at 10. You play a card at 10 and now you're not at 10 anymore. So,
It's searchable. It's searchable.
It's searchable. It's a 1-drop blocker with counter. That's the thing about like the 1-drop laws in blue and stuff, is they don't have counter, so they'll brick a lot of the time. But this one you can actually use as counter if you want. So I could see this being played, but realistic, like you're minusing Dawn so often, I don't know if this is even ever going to have blocker.
Yeah, definitely.
Basically running a 1k counter in your deck. But there is a possibility. Anyways, next up, we will have Robin under her alias as Orobi in Wano. She is a 4 cost, 5,000 power with a 1k counter, and when played, if you have 8 or more Dawn on your field, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with cost 3 or less. I don't really like this card.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with Luffy, you can ramp up a lot faster and hit that 8 Dawn mark really early. But this card is a 4-drop for 5,000, and the effect is okay. I feel like you definitely would rather run different purple cards in a deck like this. So I'm not too big of a fan of this card here.
Yeah, if it was like lower, like if it said if you have 5 or 6 or more Dawn, I would maybe like it, because this card's going to be good early. But later into the game, it's only going to be good for like taking out blockers a lot of the time, and then you put a 5k body down. If you have 8 or more Dawn, you're going to want to play your big guys. You're not going to want to play a 4 or 5. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I do not like this card. Anyways, next up, we'll have Killer. Killer is a 1 cost, 2,000 power with 1,000 counter. And it's just going to be a Kid Pirates Searcher. When played, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Grab a Kid Pirates card, put the rest on the bottom in any order. These cards are always good. We know that in every color. There are some good, very good Kid Pirates cards. So I could see this being ran as a 4 of.
Yeah, I mean, it's your searcher, so.
You'll have a decent amount of searchers in these decks. Cosplaying red this set, I think purple might have a chance to be one of the best colors come OP05. Because consistency is key. Next up here we have Sanji, or Sangoro, and he is a 6/8 vanilla. Poor Sanji fans have lost once again. Next up we've got Jinbei with the Fishman and Straw Hat Pirates type. He is going to be a 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter blocker. These are usually always good cards. But then you look at his effect. During your opponent's turn, if you have 10 or more Dawn, which we talked about is already not good, he gets 1,000 power. He gets 1,000.
Yeah, you don't run this. You don't run this.
This card is so bad. It's like actually funny when you read it. Like, because you're already not getting its effect off, but even when you do, it does nothing.
Yeah, the only good Jinbei is the blue promo Jinbei. The rest of the Jinbeis in One Piece trading card game right now are so ass.
Yeah, this is
Add
unimaginably bad. This is for real. This is unimaginably bad. Now on to good cards. We have Zoro or Zorojuro in purple. He is a 3 cost, 4,000 power with 1k counter. And when attacking, if you have 3 life or less, which, as we talked about with the Luffy leader, you're going to get to very quickly, you can add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck active for no cost, just attack. This card is pretty good. It's going to be one of your rampers in the early game, and even later in the game when you go down to 0 from certain cards that we will talk about in the future, this card is going to be very good.
Would you possibly be able to go second, take 1 life because they swing at you, and then use leader ability?
Yep.
And then pop this on your turn 2 to go to 6 Dawn, so where your turn 3
well, it's when attacking, so...
Okay, so you have to wait a turn, but you get it the next turn. And I mean, it is active, so technically you just get it right away.
If you go first, you can play this on 3 Dawn. It's basically always getting, because you're gonna have taken at least 1 hit, and then you can choose to take your life. It's gonna get the ramp.
Yeah, this card is pretty good. Pretty good.
On 3 Dawn, this is gonna be pretty nasty.
It's looking like a staple.
Pretty much a staple, searchable. Yeah, this guy and the alt art's sick. If you guys haven't seen it yet. Anyways, next up we will have Chopper going after Chopporaemon. He is a 2 cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter, and when played, if you have 8 or more Dawn on your field, you can put one of your Straw Hat characters with 6,000 power or less as active. So, the good thing about restanding characters is that you did a big swing, and then you're going to do another big swing. However, this card is like, so you can do like a mediocre 6k swing, and then you do it again. If you have 8 Dawn for 2. And you get 3k, but no, I don't like this. But, I mean, you don't need to swing again, technically. Technically, like, you'd swing with like a blocker and then restand it so it can block the next turn. Like, it has its uses, and it's searchable.
Maybe if it was like a 2k counter, but I do see, because you can run that card that we just talked about, right? You can
that's true.
Swing with that, restand, swing, and then you know,
when attacking. Okay, I actually like that. I do like that. When attacking effects can make this card pretty good. I didn't even think about that.
But I mean, it is also in a box because you do have to have 8 Dawn or more. So then by that time, ramping the 2, it's like,
That is true. Then it's pointless at that point. Okay, never mind. I hate it again.
But maybe there is some combos where you like Dawn -1, and then you re-get your Dawn. I don't know.
It's too hard. There's so many like things I feel like have to fall into place for this to be good. So
yeah, I agree.
Next up, we'll have another purple SR for this set. It's going to be Trafalgar. Amazing art and amazing alt art. Anyways, it's going to be a 3/5. Vanilla stat line is always good. And when attacking, for no Dawn investment, if the number of Dawn cards on your opponent's field is more than yours, you can look at the top 5 of your deck, grab any Heart Pirates type card, even Law, and add it to your hand, and then put the rest on the bottom. This card,
an amazing card, amazing,
solid. I don't know if I'm playing this in purple Luffy, but in cards like the new starter deck red purple Law, I think this card is in there every single time.
100%. Yeah, this card, that because the red purple law does not have any searchers, unfortunately, unless you run like Nami or if you run Izo, depending if you're running the Whitebeard package or not. This gives you the ability to actually search cards in the deck, cards you actually need and you're going to use. So this is the first searcher for that deck, and so this is it's a big card. It's just and it's a vanilla stat line. No counter is fine because you're always playing it to search, and yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, great stat line, and I think the purple red law is already good, so I think this just is gonna make it even better. Don't know if I played in Luffy though. Anyways, next up we have Frankie going under Franosuke. He is a 5 cost, 4,000 power, and a 2k counter. So another searchable 2k counter for the purple Straw Hat archetype. He's going to be a Dawn ×1. If you have 8 or more Dawn on your field, this character gains Rush. So kind of very similar to Jozu. If you ever played Whitebeard, you're always running Jozu because it's searchable 2k counter. And it can also give you surprise lethals because they don't expect you to have a Rush card. I think I'd probably run 4 of these.
Yeah, definitely. More often than not, obviously just running it for the 2K, but having that extra use on top of that. That's why some 2Ks are a lot better than others, is they have an effect that can actually be useful. And I think this is one of those cases.
Exactly. The amount of games that you're going to steal a random game because you have a Rush Frankie is probably more than you're going to think.
Yeah.
Anyways, next up we have Beppo, another vanilla 3/5 stat line for the Heart Pirates, and he's going to be, when attacking with no Dawn investment, if the number of Dawn cards on your opponent's field is greater than the number of Dawn cards on your field, you can give one of your opponent's characters minus 2k power. No counter, and only minus 2k on attack and purple.
This goes well with the purple red law. Other than that, you wouldn't run this card.
It does. I could see you maybe running in that deck. You actually probably would to get searchable.
Because
I think
for the reason that the only minus cost you have is the promo law, which is a minus 2,000, but it's a 4 drop for 5k power, right? So this is 3 drop for the same effect.
Sure, but you kind of want the 4 drops in the law deck because that's the max you can play out of that off of the leader.
Yeah, but I feel like this card is something you just play out of your hand, never with the effect.
I agree. I mean, unless it's your only target, but
yeah,
I think it's pretty strong. In that deck at least. Anyways, next up we have 4/6 no counter, my favorite stat line in the game. Let's see if it's good. When played, if you have 8 or more Dawn, once again, on your field, up to 2 of your opponent's characters get minus 2k power. This is good in law. Again, this is really good in law. Actually, wait. Yeah. This is really good in law. Oh my.
I think the only issue is just with law, you rarely see 8 Dawn or 10 Dawn.
Wait.
It does happen though. It does happen if the game slows down a bit. You don't use your effect for a turn or two. You can go up to that. I mean, I think you would run like 1 or 2 of. I mean, you could run. It's not 4 of, but I think it's all right.
I think they're already running vanilla 4/6s, so maybe you do like slot this in for that. Maybe I'm not really sure, but you're never really at 8 Dawn on that deck, so yeah, maybe this isn't that good. And if we're not talking about law, we've been talking about law a lot. If we're talking about Luffy, you're never running this card.
Yeah, true.
Anyways, next up, we have another purple 2k counter. They're giving us a lot of 2k counters in purple this set. Anyways, it's going to be a 4/4 Miss Double Finger, and when played, you can discard 1 card from your hand and add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck rested. So it's kind of like a 2k counter Jack. Purple decks used to run Jack, but nowadays I feel like there's better ramp options. This is okay. It's Baroque works, so you'd maybe play this in Croc. If you're playing yellow Crocodile, I guess you'd play it. But
I think you
really
play
bad.
this. I think you just play this in Croc and Croc only. But yeah, that deck is bad, and probably won't see you play.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna look at that card anymore. So next up, we'll have Eustace Mid. He is a 5 cost, 6,000 power with a 1k counter. He's gonna be a blocker. And during your turn, once per turn, when a Dawn on your field is returned to your Dawn deck, which obviously in these decks you're going to be doing a lot, you can add up to 1 Dawn card from the Dawn deck set as active. So, I mean, this card's great.
It's decent. It's decent.
I don't think there's anything bad about it. The thing about bringing it back active is you can actually work with more Dawn than you had, right? Mm-hmm. Like you start with 7, I play a card and Dawn -1. Say I played a card for 5, and then Kid that brings 1 back, and now I'm playing with 8 Dawn that turn.
Yeah.
Which is really strong, and it also prevents you from going down when you use your Dawn minus effects. But anyway, really good card, and it also has counter. So, searchable off killer. I don't think there's any reason not to play this.
Yeah, definitely going to be seeing some play in OP05.
For sure. Next up, we're going to have Mr. 1, Dawes Bones, with more support for Purple Yellow Crocodile. He's going to be a 1 cost, 1000 power with 1k counter. And when your opponent attacks, once per turn, you can put 1 Dawn back in your Dawn deck and play a 3 or less Brockworks type card from your hand. I'm not really familiar with Purple Yellow Crocodile, so I couldn't really say if there's any good 3 or less cards to play off of this, but even if there was, that deck kind of sucks, and I don't know if I even care about this card.
Yeah, I think there's a 2k counter that you can play where it's like you choose to destroy it with another Barrackworks card and you ramp a Dawn. So I think you like play this, play that, and then you can instantly ramp for 1 Dawn.
Okay. See,
but
it's definitely not putting that deck on the map. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean it definitely helps a lot being able to ramp turn 1, right? Because you can play this turn 1 and you play Dawn -1, you play a 3-drop from your hand, and then you get to ramp right away that same turn. But I don't know if that'll make the deck any better because that deck is so bad.
Yeah, no. Genuinely could care less about this card. Next up, great card. We have when you're at sea, you fight pirates. This is a 1-cost searcher, very similar to Whitebeard Pirates from Red. It's going to be 1-cost event. During main, you can look up to the top 3 cards of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Straw Hat Pirates, Kid Pirates, or Heart Pirates, and add it to your hand. Then put the rest of the bottom of the deck in any order, and the trigger is just activate the main effect.
Nasty card.
Insane card. It's going to be top 3 only. However, I think your whole deck is basically going to be compromised of those 3 types of cards. So this is basically 1-drop, search top 3 for anything.
Yeah, I mean, Luffy's going to run a variation of all those 3 pirates, and you're never missing. So yeah, this card's insane.
Yep. Also, obviously, if you get trigger, boom, for free. This is a great card.
Definitely run 4 of.
4 of every time. Now we have Gamma Knife. This card is going to be very strong in Law. I can already tell you it's going to be a 2-cost event, and during main you can do Dawn -1 and Power -5,000 for up to 1 of your opponent's characters. And on trigger, it's just going to ramp you an active Dawn.
Yeah, so for 2 Dawn, for 2 Dawn and Dawn -4, you're bottom decking an 8k power unit and getting a 4-drop of your own on board. So very, very strong card. Pretty nasty. And the trigger is you ramp a Dawn. So yeah, I think this is going to be definitely seen in that red purple Law, and it's going to be ran as a 4 of.
See, yeah, I could see it kind of not being good, but I could also see it being great. Kind of weird. Because it's kind of expensive. You're already minusing Dawn. This might put you a little too far behind for how much Law players like. Also, instead of playing a character out, you have to play 2 for an event. So, I mean, it sounds great on paper, and we think it's going to be good, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it isn't.
I mean, I've tested a good amount of matches, and I can tell you that this is going to be great. Because obviously, since it's -5,000, you're never playing this on anything below turn 4, right? So once those big bodies start coming in, you can play this, tap 4 Dawn, combo with another -2k, and now you have a 9k off board. Or if you run other cards to combo it, you can potentially get rid of a 10k, 12k off board. It's huge momentum swing, And obviously there's cards in the law deck where you ramp Dawn when you play a certain character. Some cards even giving you up to 2 Dawn. So
Okay.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it.
Looking forward to seeing how it works out. Next up, we've got Magnetic Genie. Not sure if that's the right translation, but we're going to go with it. It's going to be a 2-cost event, and during the main effect, another Dawn -1. Up to one of your leader characters with the Kid Pirates trait is going to get 5,000 power for this turn. The trigger is going to be just add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as active. Pay 2 to get +5 to something. Obviously, this is Dawn Plus if you don't count the Dawn -1. If this card was in Green Kid, it would be good. I don't know how good this is in like Purple Luffy or anything of that sort, but I don't like this card.
Yeah, I mean, you do get a lot of power. I just don't know if, like in Zoro deck, you run Fiery Doll, right? And you pay 2, you get 4,000. But usually there's turns where it's like lethal is determined by, you know, your leader swing. I don't know if the purple decks are in that similar playstyles where that'll happen, right? So
I mean, red can avoid like jump over blockers with effects or cards, and purple can't do that. Like, I don't see, if this was in red, you'd run it. I don't know if you run it in purple.
Yeah. And then trigger, I mean, you ramp 1, so kind of a saving grace, but I don't know if it's ran. Maybe 1 or 2 just to get the trigger.
Maybe in the purple red kid deck, but nobody's really playing that.
Yeah.
Anyways, next up, last but definitely not least, spoilers, by the way. This is going to be our last secret rare after Kaido in this set. It's going to be our purple Monkey D. Luffy in his final form, Gear 5th. He is a 10 cost, 12,000 power. The most insane card in the game. He's going to, on play, get rid of all your Dawn. Dawn -10, back to the deck, set back to 0. Then you're going to put all of your characters on board to the bottom of your deck. And then, the craziest part, you take an additional turn. So you pass, and it's back to you. Your opponent does not get to do anything. Doesn't get to restand characters, nothing. It's basically as if they pass to you. You're passing to yourself. So that's why this is so expensive. And that's not all. It also has Activate Main once per turn. You can rest the Dawn and add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck in active. This is basically akin to just adding a rested Dawn. It's like an Onigashima on a 10 drop. But you do have to have an active Dawn to use it, which isn't too hard. You just activate the effect before you play anything. But I have tested this card a bit. It's a bit clunky, not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say my deck was the most optimal, but at the end of the day, this card basically reads, draw a card, it has a rush, and your leader can swing twice. So just for that, if you can rush a 10 down, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think you definitely can run 1 or 2 of in a deck. I think the best part about this card is probably the versatility that it can bring you on a 10 on turn, right? So where, like, if they have units on board and you swing at them and then let's say they counter out, okay, boom, they counter out, you got -1 card. Now you play the Luffy, you finish out the rest of your turn if you have any more characters by swinging to leader, or you can keep trying to bait cards out of their hand if they ever decide just to take, like, let's say a 6k swing into a 6k unit and they decide to take, maybe you switch it up and now you don't play the 10 drop Luffy that turn and you can, you know, take a different route. I feel like, you know, it can be a little ambiguous if you have it or not for the opponent, depending on how you play it. So I think that mystery factor could definitely give this card like an extra bonus point. I would run a couple.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised after Dawn -10 how quickly you can get back up. In decks like Red Purple Luffy and Purple Luffy, once you go to 0, you can get an active Dawn with both of their leader effects, which means you can activate this card's other effect that turn, bring you to 2, and then on your free turn, when you pass to yourself, you'll be at 4, and obviously you can activate this effect again, go to 5. So basically guaranteed 5, and then passing to your opponent on your next turn, you're already back at 7. So it's actually not the biggest setback as you'd think a Dawn -10 would be, right?
Mhm.
But for the effect, I think it's a little too expensive. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little too expensive, but it's fun. I'm gonna play it, and I think that is gonna be the end of our video.
All right, pirates, that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you so much for sticking to the end with us. We are uploading daily and we will not stop, so make sure to subscribe to keep up with us and watch every single video. Go ahead and like this video for us, subscribe to our channel, and comment down below what your favorite purple card was. We have a giveaway coming very soon, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.